Welcome to The Project. Tonight, Donald Trump's Ukraine peace deal under fire for handing Vladimir Putin everything he wants. Ukraine's ambassador joins us.
Does your city need another major footy team? Millions of Aussies are about to get one, but do they want it?
Plus, we speak to the Aussie filmmaker who took a shoestring budget and launched $1 million global bidding war at the Sundance Film Festival.
Because maybe.
And Oasis are on. No, they're not. But you are almost out of chances to win the trip of a lifetime to see them. Do not miss tonight's code word to score the ultimate Oasis prize.
All of our audience just went, oh, what?
So did Corner. I was very excited.
Mate, now I'm disappointed that I'm on. I was looking forward to seeing Oasis.
We are live from the lands of the Cooler Nation. Susan Yusuf is here. And welcome. Let's get into today's top stories. And Anthony Albanese is stockpiling for the future on the campaign trail today. He's announced a critical minerals policy which could strengthen Australia's trade position with the US. Peter Dutton and his team were in Tasmania announcing plans for a national offenders register as part of a $90 million crackdown on domestic and family violence.
First time ever this will be done, is all about giving the police and the relevant agencies the knowledge they need there and then to make their informed decision.
This is all work that we have underway. It's either being implemented or is part of our next approach.
Teal MP Monique Ryan has condemned protesters who disrupted a voter forum last night, calling the men right-wing bullies. A fiery confrontation broke out with an attendee punching one of the men in the face. Ryan was one of many to intervene and the police were called. It's the second disruption at a candidates forum in her Kooyong electorate this week.
And with the election campaign entering the home stretch, Medicare remains front of mind for voters. Both sides of politics are promising a major boost to increase bulk billing rates. But data from the Royal Australian College of GPs shows 2/3 of doctors don't believe any policy will change their bulk billing practices at all.
I would love to ask the politicians, when their loved one finds a breast lump, when their husband's going through major mental stress, do they go down to the bulk billing clinic and expect that that problem's going to be solved in 6 minutes?
Exciting news for sports fans in the West. It looks like the NRL is set to return to WA by bringing back the Bears. After months of negotiations, there is an in-principle agreement now for a Perth-based team to join the national competition.
The National Rugby League isn't national unless it has a team from Perth.
I mean, that sounds like a sledge in the current competition, but let's move on. The other clubs have to sign off on the plan. The Perth Bears could be taking the field as early as 2027.
And we still don't have a team in South Australia or Tasmania or the Northern Territory, but we'll ignore that.
Well, they had a crack in Adelaide and it didn't quite work out.
Yes. I love this. I'm excited for this. Yeah, I think this is a concept. I really, really like it. The North Sydney Bears, like brand and club, has such a cult following.
Yeah.
So I know that there would be a move for them, so it's not no longer in New South Wales, but it's the resurgence of this, like this club that people love.
I love the idea of the Bears returning. I just wish it was somewhere north.
Yes, so do I.
So they could be called Norths.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that's a problem.
Even if it was Northwest, even if it was the Broom Bears,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
BB,
then you could
hello.
say-
That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
I think that would be good. Now, the question is, is there a supporter base for it in Perth?
Oh, I
Can you
think there
see this
is.
being a success in Perth?
Yes, I actually can, because there's no rugby union. No, actually, the
Well,
Force
they
are
had the
now
Western
back,
Force,
and then
yeah.
but they've had a lot of issues, right? So there is still a supporter base that kind of at least understands rugby now. They might not know there's two types, but once league comes in, they'll be able to go. And if they do, my understanding is that if the Bears were to be rehomed in Perth, they would have to upkeep a lot of the grounds up there, and obviously introduce a multi-performance centre.
And they'll use the stadium where the Perth Glory play in the A-League.
Yes, because it's the
moment,
only rectangular stadium in Perth. But the key thing at the moment is that the AFL teams over in WA, they're not doing that great.
No, they're not doing great. Like, you want to back the NRL when your teams aren't going well. Don't you, Waleed?
But don't you think if someone like Rove McManus got behind the Bears, it could be something big?
Oh, it'd be
I'm
huge.
just putting it out there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be huge. You want him as his #1 ticket holder.
And it's good their fans used to get a train ride. Now they have to get a 4-hour flight to see their team. That's worked out really well, guys. Now, we are here in Melbourne, where unfortunately today a hot air balloon crashed into a big chimney. Don't worry, everyone was okay and the wicker basket was fine. I think. But while the event sounds like the plot of a Roald Dahl book, the witness they found walked straight out of a Guy Ritchie film.
What'd you say?
Well, I was driving along and I see a balloon in the sky that looked rather low. And the pilot's giving it all the burners like there's no tomorrow and not gaining any height. And I could see a chimney and a mobile tower right in his path. And I thought, he's going to hit that. And lo and behold, he did.
I love him. He's kind of like Timu Jason Statham. You know?
I saw the balloon. It was going to crash. Said, how long? 2 minutes, Turkish. All right.
And then he looked down and he goes, oh, dogs. Yeah, I like dogs.
Is this, did he do anything for you, given your love of Jason Statham?
To be fair, yeah, I've got to look over here.
Yeah, very good. All right, after a break, we'll see you soon. Back to the project.
And it's truly the gift that keeps on giving. Fyre Festival's up for sale just a week after the event's big comeback was postponed indefinitely. I know, guys. It had been set to happen in Mexico in June, with tickets costing up to $1.7 million. But festival founder, convicted fraudster Billy McFarland has thrown in the towel, conceding it's too big a job for just one person.
How?
Now, you guys question my Hoctur coin, but I reckon this one is going to pay off. I reckon this one's good. Yeah. What were they thinking? Seriously, why would you buy the IP and business of what a festival that's failed twice? Is that right?
Yes.
That's insane.
Hey, third time lucky.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Could happen.
Yeah, it feels like World War III. No one wants to have it. Third time is not lucky.
Wouldn't the argument be, though, everyone recognises it, right? So if you the idea of it, people already understand. If you had enough of a reputation for being able to pull off a festival that people would trust you, you could say, it's gone to the grown-ups, we're actually going to do it right. And
No,
you can actually...
Waleed Ali, it doesn't actually exist. It's never properly happened.
It did properly happen, it was just a disaster.
See, I'm kind of on your side, because there'll be the people that want to go if it is good and it's just a great festival and it can be revived that how, then amazing. But there's also the people that just want to go to be like, I was there when the train wreck happened.
Happened
Train wreck number
again.
3.
Yeah. Okay, well, watch this space, I guess.
All right, I will.
See it.
Good. Well, like me with a bowl of chili lime mission chips, time will not slow down. So let's see what history has thrown at the 24th of April over the years.
That's very nice, that round of applause, but I've got to be honest, we chose this day at random. So don't think you're special April 24th, OK? But maybe you are.
I hope you are. Let's find out. It's time for On This Day. Well, the 24th of April was a huge day for semi-aquatic reptiles and Aussie cinema, with Crocodile Dundee first hitting our screens in 1986.
Whoa.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
Oh, yeah, he knows. According to the box office, it allegedly made $328 million. But according to Paul Hogan's accountant, it barely broke even.
According to Hogs, it's A2. Oh. Mine's also from the 80s, but get this, guys. 1184 BC.
Classic.
Today's the day the cheeky Greeks, those crazy cats, they used the Trojan horse to sneak into Troy. And whoever Troy is, I'm sincerely sorry.
Rest in peace. Now, the buns of all humanity were never the same again after Jane Fonda released her first workout tape today in 1982. People the world over were sweating profusely while they watched the tape, and some were even exercising.
Good times. Now, space never looked better after the Hubble telescope blasted off in 1990. Yep, great day for space perverts to see some clear pictures of Uranus.
Well done, Dave.
Space pervert. I miss your old nicknames, Thorno. Now, listen up, because Oasis scored their first UK #1 in 1995 today with Some Might Say, and in honour of that, I am going to play my cover of Wonderwall.
No. Today's going to be the day that you don't do that.
No, fine. Sally can wait.
Oh, good.
Shimming down to 1989, guys, when others were too weak to act, Massachusetts finally bit the bullet and declared today New Kids on the Block Day.
Okay, well, looking back, they may have called it too early.
Yeah, I think now it's those guys who are on LinkedIn trying to find some jobs day.
And I don't need to remind you, DTT, that on this day in the year 2000, the #1 song was, of course, Poison by Bardot.
If you can't be true, I got news for you.
Yes,
I
you
was
do.
a young teenager then, so it's been #1 in my heart ever since. And other parts as well. Carry on.
And finally, there ain't no party like a Barty party. Happy birthday to Aussie tennis treasure Ash Barty, as well as my close personal friends Barbara Streisand and Shirley MacLaine. And of course, the one and only Francois Fournier, the Swiss-French postage stamp forger who somehow forged his way into my heart, that bastard. Now, that was on this day for today, and who knows how many days we have left.
Why would you say we don't have any...
Keep smiling, back to the news.
I'm a little worried. OK, we're off to a break. We'll see you soon. Welcome back. Donald Trump might be famous for the art of the deal, but the president's latest Ukraine peace proposal looks a lot like giving Russia everything it wants and then some.
It's a vicious war, and if I can help solve it, that would be great.
President Trump says this is the last chance for peace.
I think we have a deal with Russia. I thought it might be easier to deal with Zelenskyy. So far, it's been harder.
As he again attacked Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the US administration outlined its latest peace deal. Almost all Ukrainian land claimed by Russia during the war is to be retained by Russia. The US will legally recognise Crimea as a Russian territory, and Ukraine will not join NATO.
The only way to really stop the killing is for the armies to both put down their weapons, to freeze this thing.
This invasion of Ukraine by Vladimir Putin and Russia is rewarded by giving them territorial concessions that incentivize this kind of action.
For Russia, it promises the deal of the century. But wait, there's more. The US would also lift sanctions on Russia and pass the responsibility of Ukraine's security over to Europe. Ukraine is refusing to negotiate further until Russia agrees to a ceasefire.
Emotions have run high today. The American side shared its vision. Ukraine and other Europeans presented their inputs.
I just want to see the war end. I don't care. If they're both happy, they both sign an agreement. I have no favorites.
Yes, Donald Trump has favorites with Vladimir Putin and Russia. Zelensky's fighting for his life and for Ukraine's life, and that doesn't fit Donald Trump. And he sees and admires many characteristics of Vladimir Putin that he wants to laud and support.
Zelenskyy is adamant Crimea is not on the negotiating table.
This is our territory, the territory of the people of Ukraine.
Donald Trump erupting on Truth Social in response.
Crimea was lost years ago and is not even a point of discussion.
The fractious back and forth, just another in a series of hostility between the two presidents.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
He is not falling into line to just do what Donald Trump wants. He wants out of this conflict, and Zelenskyy is saying, my national boundaries matter, my national identity matters, and Donald Trump doesn't buy that.
While Trump is threatening to walk away, Ukraine's European allies are rallying around it. But with plans to end the war seemingly at a stalemate, the bloodshed continues.
Joining us now is the Ambassador of Ukraine to Australia, Vasyl Myroshnychenko. Ambassador, thank you very much for your time. What do you make of this proposal by the US?
Well, as you know, yesterday in London, we had very good negotiations and talks with 5 countries were there. Ukraine was there, US, Britain, UK, and Germany. And all 5 countries had a very candid discussion about how should we be moving forward. And certainly we heard the proposal from the US government. Britain, France, and Germany had their own views. We have their own views on this issue as well. But we have to keep in mind that what does it mean, right, when you say that we should recognize Crimea as part of Russia? And what does it mean for the global security? What does it mean for Taiwan? Crimea is an integral part of Ukraine, and it's in our constitution, it's enshrined in our constitution. There was a Crimea Declaration in 2018 when US government, as well as many other governments, have again restated that commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty where Crimea is part of Ukraine. What about our indigenous people in Crimea? You know, we have 300,000 indigenous Crimeans there. They are Muslim people who always lived there. They were deported during the Soviet times in 1944. Most of them have died on the way to Central Asia. They could only come back when Ukraine became independent. These 300,000 indigenous people in Crimea are now under the Russian occupation, suffering, being prosecuted. Their human rights have been violated grossly. What do you say to those people, and how can you talk to them about this?
Do you think Well, President Trump would say that Crimea was lost in 2014. Ukraine lost control of that. What would you say to that? And do you think that there's a world where you can expect it realistically to be returned to Ukraine?
Ukraine has given up nuclear weapons in 1994 upon the assistance of the US government. And we gave it up, and it was the third largest stockpile of the nuclear weapons. And we gave it up because President Clinton insisted on that. And we gave it up in exchange for our sovereignty to be always respected. And 5 countries signed that document: US, China, Russia, France, and the UK. So all we want the respect on the document which we have once signed, made the biggest contribution to the global peace, and nobody has ever done it, only Ukraine done it.
So these are arguments of principle that you're making. The reality on the ground is that there's a war raging. It has no signs of slowing, and Ukraine is not winning that war, let's put it that way. And so that suggests some kind of pragmatic compromise must be necessary, doesn't it?
Ukraine is standing up to democracy. We've been fighting for the past 3 years. And I think it's up to other democracies to stand up for it as well.
Right, but the United States has made its position clear, and it doesn't seem to be that it wants to have a fight in Ukraine over democracy and stand with Ukraine in this way. So given that, don't you have to... Do you have to compromise on the side? Like, I understand how much it would hurt. I get that point.
No,
but is
morning,
it inevitable?
Yeah, this morning I recorded a video message in front of the Australian War Memorial in Canberra on the way here. And something which I said there, I talked about a fair go, a concept which is so dear to every Australian. A fair go goes beyond. This is what defines and shapes Australian mentality. And for us, we paid so much for democracy now. We sacrificed many lives. Many cities been destroyed in Ukraine. This is what we paid for. Don't you think it's about justice? Don't you think that Russia must be held accountable for that? We already paid a high price.
I think a lot of people would think that. Apparently the United States may not. And so that's the situation that you're faced with. And the reality of war is that it doesn't end always fairly.
and we value the contribution from America as well as from all other partners, including Australia and New Zealand here in this part of the world. And certainly it will be very difficult for us to fight. But I have to tell you one thing. Even every country is going to walk away from Ukraine, will keep on fighting. You know why? Because there's no alternative. That's our superpower.
Right.
Because we know what is the alternative. Russia wants Ukraine totally destroyed, extinguished as a country, extinguished as a cultural identity. Russians want to destroy Ukrainian language, culture. They want to take it over and then erase everything that has happened before. We're dealing with a colonial power. That's our alternative. And that's our superpower. We'll keep on fighting no matter what.
Doesn't sound like there's a deal to be done, at least in the short term.
Wow.
No doubt we'll speak to you again. I'm afraid we'll have to speak to you again at some point, Ambassador. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
If you're watching the project, we'll be back after this. More of today's top stories, and a massive manhunt continues in New South Wales Hunter region for a gunman who fatally shot an 18-year-old in a Newcastle car park. Witnesses say he arrived in a white SUV, got out and opened fire, killing Ekam Sani before driving off. Police are unclear on the motive, but say the shooting was unrelated to an earlier fight the teen was involved in.
I just came back to just see if I could do anything. I opened my shirt and I just tried to like put it on him, but the lady said, don't do anything, it's already late.
Now, you've probably heard a bit about rare earth minerals lately, and today Australia launched a bold power play to help corner the global market on the critical resource. But there's a massive secret to rare earths that no one's talking about.
You know, we need the rare earth. We have some here, but we don't have enough.
Trump wants rare earths.
We want to be a really important supplier of these rare earths.
We're also signing agreements in various locations to unlock rare earths.
A lot of people, including Donald Trump, talk about rare earths. There is a significant chance they don't know what on earth they're going on about.
Rare earths are like literally in your backyard.
They're not that rare.
From fighter jets to wind turbines, iPhones to EVs, missiles to MRI scanners to nuclear-powered subs, rare earths are a group of 17 elements critical to the manufacture of many high-tech products.
Rare earth minerals sit towards the bottom of the periodic table. Their magnetic properties mean they're very useful for making high-powered magnets.
You know AirPods, the very satisfying way they click when they close. Apple couldn't really exist in its modern, snazzy state without rare earths.
While rare earths power the world's armies and economies, one country holds a near monopoly, China, controlling more than 60% of production and more than 90% of processing.
Beijing has begun restricting the export of a number of what are these so-called rare earth minerals in response to Donald Trump's trade war.
So you can see why everyone's very excited about finding another source.
The US on a quest to break free from its reliance on Beijing. Trump recently eyeing up Greenland, Canada and Ukraine, nations rich in minerals.
We're telling Ukraine they have very valuable rare earth.
Rare earths aren't actually that rare.
One of the biggest limitations in mining them is actually breaking down the mineral structures to get the metals out.
Australia holds at least 4% of the world's rare earth reserves, the fourth largest in the world.
This is something that is in demand and that will drive the economy of the 21st century.
Today, Albanese pledged to establish a $1.2 billion national stockpile of the coveted minerals. The plan? To ensure an ongoing supply for local industry and key allies like Japan and South Korea, as well as using the supply as a sweetener to negotiate a Trump tariff carve-out.
It is in our national interest to use the full suite of leverage that is available to us.
They have enabled our technologies to get smaller and faster and stronger.
When you sprinkle them on things like steel or magnets, they just make them a lot more powerful. So it's best to think of them as a kind of condiment for an industry.
Well, Dr. John Coyne is the director of ASPI's national security programs. John, China's dominance in rare earths, just how much of a powerful geopolitical tool is that?
Look, it impacts on us every single day. So the materials they control everything from the world's most advanced fighter jets, which is the Joint Strike Fighter, right through to the mobile phones that people have in their hands.
So that's a hell of a lot of power. And given that it seems like lots of countries actually have rare earths in their territory, why did the world allow this situation to happen where China has this near monopoly?
First up, I guess the issue here is that this is about visionaries. The Chinese government saw this 30 years ago and said these rare earths, these critical minerals are going to be the next oil. And they deliberately invested in them. Secondly, for the rest of the world, we so wholly engaged in globalisation. We believed that the world was going to be at peace for the last 3 decades. So just-in-time supply chains, offshoring, centralisation of production, all led to this moment where all of a sudden we don't have control over these commodities. So, John, in this particular situation, can other countries catch up with the broad shoulders of China? Look, they can, but the problem itself is bigger than one single country. And it's also important to remember when we talk about these sort of commodities, we're not talking about coal or iron ore where there's like 1 or 2 steps in processing. The difficulty isn't finding these things, the difficulty is processing them. Many of the commodities we're talking about take hundreds of steps, and it's those steps where China has got the jump on us. Now, yes, a number of countries, if they come together, can make a difference. And those countries include Australia, Japan, Korea, as well as the EU and the US and India, of course.
So what do you think of the government's plan to stockpile?
Look, this is a great first step, and certainly I've been writing about the need to stockpile for the last 2 or 3 years. Stockpiling, what it allows us to do, it prevents fluctuations in prices and provides customers with a guarantee that they're going to get their product. Unfortunately, the problem itself is bigger than one single country can deal with. So this is a great start, but what we really need is countries like Japan, Korea and India to join us to build bigger, sustainable, scalable stockpiles.
You've just told us that the problem is also the processing. It's an incredibly complex process. So if we stockpile, how does that solve that problem? Don't we just end up with a whole bunch of stuff and we don't have the mechanism?
Well, this is just a first step, and I think this is what's quite often misunderstood. So what we're talking about here is moving further along the value chain. It's also why what we need is more than just a market to sell this to. So, for instance, there's no point us stockpiling ore alone if we still have to send it to China to be processed. So what we need to do is countries like Japan, which are already investing in companies like Lynas, we need them to sign up to take and have agreements with us to take our rare earths, our critical minerals and process them.
John, thanks for your time.
No, thank you.
Well, Aussie writer and director Michael Shanks is set to open the Sydney Film Festival after igniting a bidding war with his debut film Together. Global rights for the thriller sold for a reported $23 million.
That's a lot of dollars.
After it screened at Sundance, making it one of the most expensive deals in the festival's history. The 34-year-old started his career making videos on YouTube after high school. Here's a little bit of the trailer for Together.
Oh. Time slot. Let's stop there. Would you please welcome the man of the hour, Michael Shanks.
Great to be here. Thank you, everybody. Thanks,
Congratulations on the film and the associated bidding war, my friend.
Yes, it's very strange.
Are you pinching yourself?
A little bit, but it hurts. No, it's all been such a dream come true, honestly. Like, I wrote the script like 6 years ago, just in my house, like as a weird little loner, and now, you know, it's kind of out in the world and people are seeing it and people are seeming to like it. So that's it's insane. It's a dream beyond dream kind of coming true. So yeah, and I'm on the project.
Yeah.
Speaking of dreams coming true.
Yeah, you finally made it, mate.
Come on.
Made it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We also paid $23 million to have you here. So
I have a fee now.
mate, people do love it. I have to read this review here that's going to push my public school education. But the film has been described as more bone-crunching contortions, sticky goop, and subcutaneous disturbance than you could ever dream of. Do you agree with that review?
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a romantic film, but it truly is. You know, this is a film that we really made for an audience, and you make it for so long in a tiny little room with yourself and the editors after you've kind of shot the thing, and then seeing it in these crowds across the US as we've been doing our sort of film festival tour. People are gasping, they're laughing. You know, it's a real kind of crowd-pleasing good time, and I can't wait for it to kind of play here in Australia, where we actually made the thing.
Michael Shanks, when we talked about you being a YouTube creator, there's like a lo-fi-ness to that title, but the stuff that you make is excellent, has always been excellent, and now this is kind of just getting the global audience that it deserves. I believe your work is phenomenal.
Well,
Having
Susie,
said that,
you speak from experience because I've directed you in a.
Okay, that's true, and I hope now again. But you've got people like Alison Brie and Dave Franco in the film. How did that happen?
It's insane. I actually The way that happened was like a sort of, again, just a total pinch me moment where I had written this other script that was getting kind of heat in Hollywood, the script called Hotel, 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 Hotel. And through that, my agent sort of remembered that I existed and went, who's this guy? Oh, okay, right. Hey, well, you should meet Dave, because I think you guys would get on. And David directed this movie called The Rental, which is this horror film that I really liked. And so then when I spoke with him, I thought like, hey, well, I've actually written this horror script. Maybe you'd like to read it and think, oh, maybe this guy can write. Maybe I'll hire him for a different writing job. I didn't think for a moment that he would want to do it. And then I got a call the next day saying, hey, Dave read the script. He really likes it. He'd like to star in it. Also, how would you feel about his wife, Alison Brie, being the co-lead in it, because he gave her the script and she loves it too.
And you were like, no thanks.
And I was like, okay. And I was just like walking to my local Footscray pub when I got that call, like ready to have a pint of Guinness, and it's like, oh, okay, this is a good day to have a Guinness.
I mean, Sue's just touched on it. Obviously, you came through YouTube, and that seems to be a lot of the way that some Australian filmmakers have made their way to Hollywood. But it's also funny that the horror genre seems to make an impact in Hollywood, like, you know, your Wolf Creeks or the Saw series and your project. What is it about that?
I don't know. It just seems to be a universal feeling that people love to be spooked. I think that
by Australians.
By Australians, we're scary guys. Have you seen Yahoo Serious? I think that Australian filmmakers always have to struggle against having to punch above our own weight because we have this strange accent, we live in this kind of silly land, and being in this genre space like horror, people just kind of seem to like it. As cinema sort of seems to be moving away from cinemas and more towards streaming platforms, it does seem that horror is the genre that kind of keeps the cinemas afloat, and it's no surprise then that I think the Australian films that penetrate, particularly something like Talk to Me from the Raka Raka guys, Danny and Michael, like. It makes you proud to be an Australian filmmaker, seeing you see your contemporaries doing good stuff.
Is it they think we're weird, and so it makes like horror from us makes sense to them or something?
I think so. It's so wonderful going to America and people being like, "My gosh, your accent's so crazy," and it's like you're not doing anything, but it's like, yeah, I'm so novel here. Yeah.
Just quickly, speaking of scary things, what's more terrifying, like film critics or the YouTube comment section?
The YouTube comment section has been has been good to me for the most part. Really? Yeah, because I don't know, but like, you know, there's always the comments that come by and sort of stab you in the back, as it were. The comment that I get kind of most across all of my YouTube stuff was that there's a famous Canadian actor called Michael Shanks from the show Stargate SG-1, a great show. Yes. And so every single time anything of mine comes up, it says, is this Michael Shanks from Stargate? Is this Michael Shanks from Stargate? I get fan letters from sort of middle-aged American women saying, like, you're the most beautiful actor I've ever seen in a television show.
And you're like, thank you, Owen.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, well, I don't think that's true. But
Look at collab.
I once actually got sent a contract for the actor Michael Shanks to sign for a film that he was in from his management company because I'd met them, so they had my email address. And I'm like, if I sign this, do I get to star in a Hallmark Christmas movie? I don't know.
I think you do. Wow, what a career you have coming up.
Oh, my God.
Please thank Michael Shanks, the Australian.
Hey, thank you.
We've got more projects coming up after this.
Coming up. It seems like toxic masculinity is always making the news. Now, a groundbreaking study into young men and their online habits has revealed the long-lasting and damaging effect these alpha male influencers are having.
The negative influences I'm seeing online are a lot of get-rich-quick gurus like Andrew Tate that kind of sell you this idea of like things can happen overnight.
Joe Rogan, he's pretty popular with the young guys. I'm not really into all that, but yeah.
Andrew Tate and people like him are becoming more popular around teenagers, especially men.
Some kids a while ago in my school did. They followed him and like agreed with all this stuff.
They see like him as the kind of alpha male and they just want to become like him.
Masculinity is directly under attack because it's masculinity that's going to resist the enslavement that's coming from the United Kingdom.
Young men don't even realise what they're kind of being led into or the kind of trap. Some young men can be completely oblivious to it and start living a certain way.
20-year-old Caleb is worried about the impact social media is having on his generation.
One side of the coin, like, they're kind of selling you this kind of way to, like, be better, but on the other side, they're trying to sell you something that's not really you. And it is good to have good income. It is good to kind of strive to be better, but the ways that they're portraying it just isn't, like, right.
A new report from the Movember Institute has revealed almost 7 in 10 young men regularly tune into influencers who are shaping their attitudes, behaviour and even their health.
This is a mainstream situation whereby over 60% of the 3,000 men that we spoke to are directly engaging with this content.
Psychologist Dr. Zach Seidler is head of men's health research at Movember.
This content is providing them with a feeling of optimism. It's really offering them a sense of motivation and self-betterment.
43% of men found these influencers motivating, and almost half felt a greater sense of purpose.
At odds with that, there was a really interesting finding, which is that the young men who are engaging with this content are far more likely to have much worse mental health than those who are not. They are much more likely to be describing feelings of worthlessness, of hopelessness, of sadness.
76% of participants viewed emotional expression as a sign of weakness. 23% even stating they've taken or considered taking steroids.
I know there are a lot of people who compare themselves to the bodies or the looks of people online, so I know that's a big thing.
For me, I'm built like a matchstick, so when I see these sort of guys, there's sort of that aspect of body dysmorphia.
I guess it can be pretty influential sometimes. The content that young men are largely consuming kind of rallies around a number of different themes. It's a desire to make money, to get ripped, and to get a girlfriend.
Dr. Zach says the negative press around toxic masculinity can fuel the fire.
When society is telling young men what not to do, consistently saying, don't be this, don't talk like that, don't go and speak like that, what happens is that there is a backlash, and that's what we're witnessing now.
But there are content creators striving to create a positive environment for their followers.
I think the negative things that I see is just this focus on the end result rather than the journey, like the quick fixes, the focus on steroid abuse, you're not a man unless you look a certain way. The dumbest voices are often the loudest, and that's the problem.
Nathan McCallum has always had an interest in fitness, turning that passion into a career online.
I try and make sure things are realistic. I'm not ego lifting and showing any like over the top things. I try and communicate as well that I've had 12 years of consistent training in nutrition to get to the point that I'm at. It's not a quick fix.
Nathan also enjoys challenging traditional male stereotypes.
I think it's okay to go to the gym and want to have big muscles and abs, and it's okay to paint your nails and be creative and dress the way you want.
Changing the conversation won't be an overnight fix.
Firstly, we need to make sure that the social media companies are held to account when they are throwing out harmful content that doesn't benefit anybody.
I feel like there is good masculinity out there. A lot of people right now don't really understand what just kind of like being a man is in today's society. Being a man to me is living up to your morals and being honest and telling the truth and just being a good guy.
I don't know what's more terrifying at the moment. The concept of being the parent to a young girl who's navigating this world growing up, and you're constantly being told that, you know, be careful, you've got to protect yourself, and men bad, boys bad, they're the enemy almost in a way. And, you know, that's right and wrong. But then also, is it maybe more terrifying to be the parent of a young boy who's got exactly the same kind of images and rhetoric flying at him? It's like, who are they meant to be? Where are the positive role models, and why don't they constantly keep calling out the negative ones? Why is it so hard to discern?
Or the parent of queer kids or kids who are transitioning, or there is just such a big spectrum here of attitudes towards gender and sexuality, and it's kind of heartening in a way to see young men questioning the role models that they are being provided, but also where are the positive male role models who are masculine? You know, what does that look like? And yeah, I mean, I don't begin to have the answers, but it feels like there's a gap here.
Broader question is, does our culture have a way of talking about masculinity that is celebrating it?
Yeah.
And I think the answer to that right now is no. And when there's no answer there, you find an answer elsewhere.
This is what happens. You're watching The Project, we're going to take a break. This is The Project, welcome back.
All right, Oasis fans, this is one of your last chances to win the trip of a lifetime. This week on The Project, are you the ultimate Oasis fan? Before they land in Australia for their stadium tour, we're giving you and a mate the chance to see the Gallagher Brothers in London or Manchester. All you have to do is watch The Project, grab the code word and enter at 10play.com.au/win.
Well, this feels like the perfect moment for me to get my guitar and play my one.
No, thank you, Susan. Let's go straight to the code word, shall we? The code word for tonight is whatever.
Whatever.
A bit of sass,
I mean, I feel like that could be the code word for just about any competition, but there you go. It's for tonight.
Head to the website to enter. Now, our next guest is an Australian rising star catching some very notable attention.
My mama told me not to fear my enemies. Know that I'm stronger than I think I am.
Mia Ray is an alt-pop powerhouse on the rise.
Whenever I call you, whenever I hold you, I just need you to
First, finding success with YouTube covers before finding her own fans with a kind of confessional pop that led Vance Joy, G-Flip and the Elton John to sing her praises.
And no, I won't back down until the day it's done. I'm gonna make you work for me.
Last month, Mia topped the Aussie chart with her debut album, Hi, It's Nice to Meet Me. And now she's here to meet us.
What if it's all I ever wanted? What if that happened?
Would you please welcome Mia Ray? Mia, you were off to a sold-out gig straight after this.
Yeah.
You've just been touring overseas. You know, another tour coming up. Like, bit busy.
Yeah, a
at the
little
moment.
bit, but I'm so happy to be here. This is so fun.
Are you getting
you guys
used
are
to...
real.
Oh, yeah, we're out of the television. Do you get used to that kind of, like, what you're doing, like, back, you're hustling?
Yeah, I love to hustle. I'll, like, realise all of these achievements maybe in, like, a month. Then I'll be like, oh, that's really cool. But while I'm here, I'm just, like, on the roller coaster a little bit. Yeah.
Man, what I love is at your shows, there's themes.
Yes.
And is there a theme tonight?
Yeah, you coming? You wearing pink?
Yeah, what are we... Well, pink, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a lot in my wardrobe, but I can give it a shot.
Stop it, you do.
Okay, I'll do.
But how do the fans embrace it?
It's good, yeah. They just all come in, I don't know, whatever they want. It can be as little or as much as they want. They wear sparkles and cowboy boots and, yeah, like whatever. It's great.
Where did the themes thing come from?
It was actually Chapel Roan, which now I feel like I need to change my hair because now people think that I'm like copying. Oh wait, you're in the same boat.
Wait,
yeah,
this is the Chapel effect. Yeah.
But I just saw that like she did it's not a new thing. I think Gracie Abrams does it as well, and it's just like a nice sense of community. And like a lot of people like come to shows alone, and like I want them to feel like they've got a bunch of mates there with them.
Right,
so I feel like
yeah.
So like the theme is like. Yeah, just brings everyone
together. Well, a theme of tonight's show is things starting out on YouTube.
Love that.
Yeah, we're just obviously in film before and now with you uploading music on YouTube. Like, could you imagine that you'd be releasing a debut album from that starting point?
I started because there was an artist on YouTube called Gabrielle Aplin, who I actually have like 3 songs with her on this record, which is so cool. So that was like a big full circle moment. But no, I just stayed in my bedroom and I would upload covers, and it was just something that I was really passionate about and still am. Like I just still love being able to do that and just upload it and connect with people. And honestly, I think it took a long time for me to get a debut record out. Yeah. But I'm so happy that this is the way that it happened. I didn't rush it, and I'm so proud of it. So, yeah.
Mia Ray.
Mia Ray.
Triple J have described some of your music as bright and boppy with an underlying existential crisis, which is my jam.
Yes. Yes.
Is that how you would describe it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, I had a clear quarter-life crisis, as you do.
Same, babe,
27.
actually, like just now. Yeah.
Really?
I think I've had 3 of those.
I thought I was straight. Apparently I'm not. And I found that out at, I think, the late age of 27. I feel like a lot of people, I had inklings, but I just met this girl and it just turned everything on its head. I was in a 7-year relationship with a man, and I ended up in London by myself with no family, no friends, and a bunch of writing sessions set up with strangers. And I met the girl like 2 weeks prior to that.
Wow.
And so that's where all of these songs have come from, me just trying to figure out, and, you know, coincidentally, had some writing sessions set up, so it was kind of perfect.
So when you released this album called Hi, It's Nice to Meet Me, when was the moment when it was nice to meet you?
Yeah.
I feel like this is like a PG rated show.
But now we're getting a feel for what the answer would be. Yeah.
No, like honestly, when I first saw her, and then I had that time by myself overseas. I'd never gone overseas by myself before. And I think it's such a beautiful way to like reflect back on your life, back home. And so I think my time in London, I think that was the first time I met me. Yeah.
You do have a lot of fans. One of them,
That's good.
Elton John.
Oh, yes. Oh my God.
Monster Brain from Mia Ray. She's an Australian singer and songwriter. This is a wonderful song, and I hope we can have her on the show and interview her, because I'm really impressed with her.
What is your life,
Not sure. Still not, like, unless he like invites me to tea, I don't know if it's real.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because we're out of time. Mia's debut album is out now. If you're lucky, you might get the last few tickets for a national tour. Would you please thank Mia Ray?